Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're plunging into a novel that, honestly, it really took me by surprise. It kind of defied my expectations, and it left me pondering this really human and incredibly gripping question. Would you risk everything? I mean, your quiet life, your safety, maybe even your very existence for someone you've only just met, all in the name of love. That, for me, that was the core undeniable tension that just grabbed me in the book we're exploring today, Troublemaker. Now, I gotta confess something right off the bat. When I first picked up Troublemaker, right, and I read the premise, it mentioned Secret Service, black ops, elite government units, ambushes. I'll admit, I was a little hesitant. Honestly, my usual reading preferences, they lean away from stories with intense, like geopolitical intrigue or those deep, dark, covert operations. They often feel too gritty for me, maybe too complex, too, well, cozy, I guess. Sometimes I just find them overwhelming,
They need a level of concentration I'm not always looking for when I just want to settle in with a good book.
Yeah.
But this one, Troublemaker, it completely threw me for a loop. It was a total, absolute delight. A surprise, because despite that high-stakes premise, the whole feel of the novel felt incredibly, surprisingly, almost comfortingly cozy, to me anyway, as a reader. And that realization right there, that was a key insight I knew I had to share with you. Because it didn't just change how I saw this specific book, it totally reshaped what I thought this whole genre could even be. It showed me that even inside a world filled with danger, you can find this deep human warmth.
And that's exactly it, and that's what makes Troublemaker stand out. It doesn't just dabble in these elements, it masterfully blends them. You get the high-octane action, the very real threat, but it's intricately woven with a really compelling, deeply rooted romance. And then, like you said, there's that absolutely unforgettable element that ties it all together in a way you just rarely see. It takes these parts that seem so different, the adrenaline, the intimacy, and yeah, even that touch of unexpected charm, and it creates something genuinely cohesive, deeply engaging, and remarkably resonant. It's really a testament to the author's skill balancing those different tones and themes without ever losing sight of the central emotional core.
Oh, and speaking of that unforgettable element, if you are, like me, a dog person, oh my goodness, let me tell you, you are in for an absolute pure treat. Because Trix, the golden retriever in this story, she doesn't just play a role, she practically steals the entire show. I mean, I just adored Trix from the second she bounded on the page, wagging her way right into the story. My immediate thought was, okay, she isn't just a pet, right? Not just some cute prop to make things feel homey. No, she was this incredible, living, breathing source of humor and sweetness that genuinely brought out the absolute best in Morgan. Morgan, who, at first seemed so hard and so stoic, this guy defined by secrets and control, he truly visibly softens around Trix. And that transformation, that really beautiful relationship between this highly trained operative and this loving dog, it was just beautiful to watch. It added such a vital, surprising layer of emotional depth to everything. Made him so much more relatable, endearing even.
That's a really astute point. She is so much more than just a pet. She's really integral to the narrative's emotional and, frankly, structural integrity.
All right, let's really dive into the heart of Troublemaker now and unpack the trio of characters that, for me, just make this story sing. First up, the enigmatic operative himself, Morgan Yancey. Wow. I was absolutely fascinated by Morgan from the very first page, immediately. He's presented as this mysterious, almost legendary elite operative, part of some top-secret government unit. And the story kicks off, bam. He's ambushed, nearly killed after a Black Ops mission. The author just drops you right into his world of peril, not a lot of setup, and my mind just started racing. Who is this guy? What happened on that mission? Why him? His initial persona, it's this powerful mix of physical strength and, deep vulnerability. He's badly wounded, he's on the run, and there's this really unsettling undercurrent of betrayal. Because his boss, Axel, he suspects there's a traitor right inside their unit, actively targeting them. And that's the crucial reason Morgan ends up where he does. He gets sent to this remote, supposedly safe place, this quiet little town, to heal and lie low, while Axel investigates the leak behind the scenes. This immediate setup, it just creates such an intense mystery around him.
Yeah, it's a classic setup, isn't it? The wounded hero archetype, which is always a powerful literary device. The protagonist who, despite being extraordinary, carries both physical and emotional scars, makes them relatable, often more compelling than some flawless hero. But what Troublemaker does so well is add these significant nuances to Morgan within that framework. Yes, he's got the physical prowess, the mystique of his job, but his severe injuries and that profound betrayal, they force him into the state of intense vulnerability he's clearly clearly not used to at all. His deep-seated need for control, that ingrained habit of secrecy, which, are essential for survival in his work, they're constantly challenged by his physical limits, by his unexpected reliance on others, especially Bo. This internal conflict, right? The battle between his training and this newfound vulnerability, it's absolutely key to his character development. It makes him so much more than just a stoic operative. It lets you glimpse the complex, struggling man underneath, Invites empathy, connection.
Right. And then into this incredibly volatile situation, we meet Isabeau Beaumara. And let me tell you, I felt an immediate, really strong connection with her. She's introduced as the police chief of this quiet, unassuming small town in West Virginia. And I just absolutely loved her quiet courage, her fiercely independent spirit. She's not flashy, right? She's not a secret agent, doesn't carry some huge gun or have a mysterious past. But she has this incredible inner strength, this quiet resilience that just shines through everything she does. It's the kind of strength born from handling everyday stuff with integrity and just plain common sense. Her initial situation really hit home for me, made her super relatable. She's living this calm, low-stress life, handling the day-to-day of a small town, minor disputes, quirky neighbors, things that are a million miles from espionage, and then bam, completely out of nowhere, her world flips upside down. She's tasked with harboring this mysterious wounded stranger. I mean, can you even imagine? My heart really went out to her. It felt like her peaceful, ordered world was just invaded in an instant, and she had to figure out how to navigate this total chaos while trying to keep her cool and protect her community. Her struggle felt so real, so immediate.
Bo really does provide that grounded, authentic counterpoint to Morgan's world.
Okay, let's talk about the absolute star, the true heart stealer of this book. Trix. Oh my gosh, I have to say it again. My absolute total love for this dog. It knows no bounds. Trix is described as this highly intelligent, perceptive golden retriever, and honestly, she practically steals the show. Every single scene she's in. Every time she was on the page, I was just glued, waiting to see what she'd do next. Her role in the story is just so brilliantly done by the author. She forms this immediate, undeniable bond with Morgan, almost like she senses something in him, right? Maybe a hidden kindness or a deep vulnerability right from the start. And this detail really stuck with me. It was both endearing and critical. She often senses danger before anyone else does. It's not just a cute quirk to make her lovable. It becomes this genuine recurring plot point that ramps up the tension, keeps you, the reader, constantly on edge, wondering, okay, Trix is acting weird, what's about to happen? I remember thinking that. If Trix is acting funny, I should probably be worried. But my absolute favorite part, the thing I cherished most about Trix's influence, it was how her unwavering loyalty, just her simple presence, her profound trust became this crucial, almost unspoken way for Bo to slowly, cautiously start to trust Morgan emotionally. I loved watching Morgan, this hardened operative used to keeping everyone at arm's length, just slowly, almost imperceptibly, soften around the dog. In those quiet moments, a shared look between man and dog, Morgan's hand just stroking Trix's fur while he's thinking, or the way Trix curls up protectively beside him, we, as readers, got these beautiful, unexpected, deeply personal glimpses into his heart. Glimpses that no amount of dialogue or action could have given us. Trix was like this living, breathing bridge, showing us the vulnerability and the inherent goodness under his tough exterior. And seeing him through her eyes, through Bo's watching their bond, it just made me root for him even more passionately. She was the unexpected key unlocking his humanity.
In his wounded, guarded state, she's a psychological anchor, a source of unconditional comfort that lets him drop his guard in ways he just wouldn't with a human. And for Bo, watching Morgan's tender interactions with Trix gives her tangible, irrefutable proof of his inherent goodness, his trustworthiness, despite his mysterious and dangerous background. It's a subtle but incredibly effective way for the author to speed up the emotional arc and build intimacy in a genre where trust isn't just important, it's paramount for survival.
Now, let's talk about the danger factor in Troublemaker. Because it's precisely when facing this ever-present threat that the tension truly builds, and the bond of trust between Morgan and Bo isn't just tested, it's forged into something incredibly strong. As the story unfolded, I distinctly remember the moment I really grasped the full scope of who was chasing Morgan, and more terrifyingly, why. It wasn't just some random ambush at the start, it was deep, pervasive, insidious, coming from within his own unit, people he once trusted implicitly. That realization, it sent chills down my spine, because it meant the danger wasn't just external, it was deeply personal, inescapable. The setup, like we touched on, is ingenious. Simple, but effective. Morgan gets sent to Bo's quiet, unsuspecting town because she happens to be his boss, Axel's stepsister. This family connection immediately, dramatically raises the stakes for Bo. even though, she initially agreed to help him for practical reasons like getting out of debt. But knowing her trusted stepbrother put her in this position, and then slowly realizing the sheer magnitude and brutality of the danger Morgan brought with him, it truly put me on edge for her.
I was constantly thinking, how is this ordinary police chief going to handle this extraordinary threat? What's going to happen to her quiet life? The unseen threat just looms large, a constant, chilling undercurrent of suspense that's in every scene, even the quiet, seemingly safe ones. The author expertly keeps that tension humming without needing constant action scenes, just by reminding you of the hidden danger.
That's a truly critical observation. The novel brilliantly uses this external threat, the hunt for Morgan by the shadowy, traitorous faction in his own unit, not just as a plot device for action. This shared adversity, this constant life-threatening pressure, it strips away pretenses, forces immediate vulnerability, and profoundly accelerates the building of a bond that might otherwise take much longer. So essentially, the peril doesn't just drive the plot, it relentlessly reveals and refines true character. It shows how deep connection can emerge under the most extreme pressure.
Exactly. And it's this constant pervasive danger that truly forces Morgan and Bo to rely on each other in these profound, almost primal ways. There are these intense, heart-stopping moments where their trust isn't just a mental thing, it's forged instinctually, right in the heat of the moment. You see them making split-second decisions, putting their lives literally in each other's hands. And each time, that bond gets a little stronger, deepens beyond anything either of them expected. And again, it brings me back to Trix, because her role here is absolutely pivotal in softening those edges, even with all the tension. Her sensing danger isn't just a cute trick, it's a crucial early warning system. Often alerts them before they have any other clue. Her protective instincts, especially towards Morgan, are amazing, a silent testament to his inherent goodness that Bo sees. But also, her simple, loving, completely non-threatening presence allows for these moments of vulnerability that deepen the bond between Morgan and Bo. I honestly felt Trix was responsible for so much of their initial emotional connection. She was the safe space, the common ground, the gentle go-between that allowed them both to lower their guard just enough to really see each other, even with threats lurking everywhere. It was just a beautiful illustration of how something so simple and pure could have such a massive transformative impact on human relationships. And my appreciation for how the final confrontation plays out in this book, it's incredibly high. It's not some drawn-out, explosion-filled, seemingly endless battle stretching across chapters, which I admit is maybe what I might have expected from a Black Ops story. Instead, the people hunting Morgan, his former colleagues, turned enemies, they track him to Bo's quiet town. This, of course, immediately and intensely puts her life at very direct risk. It becomes the ultimate test of their bond. And Morgan, true to his training and his protective nature, takes decisive charge to neutralize the threat. What I truly admired, what really made this novel stand out for me, was how the action, while brief, is incredibly intense and profoundly effective. It's sharp, precise, utterly devastating. And crucially, Morgan survives. The immediate personal danger to Bo is eliminated with this sense of finality. This narrative choice, to me, made the novel feel so much more grounded, realistically focused on the romance. It didn't try to be overtly macho-dangerous with endless, fantastical gunfights that would have pulled me out of the story. Nor did it slide into rom-comedy territory with characters agonizing over every little thing or creating artificial drama. It felt just right. It struck this exquisite balance, letting the core relationship between Morgan and Bo shine without being overshadowed by gratuitous theatrics. That cozy feeling I mentioned earlier. It was maintained even through the climax because the focus stayed on their bond, their shared future, not just the spectacle of violence. I genuinely love that nuanced balance.
That's a crucial distinction, yeah. When you analyze Troublemaker compared to a lot of other romantic suspense novels, a significant number in the genre do tend to lean heavily into escalating, often fantastical action sequences, which can sometimes inadvertently eclipse the romantic story, right? Making the relationship feel secondary to the explosions.
Now let's delve into what I found to be one of the most compelling parts of this story. That intricate interplay of personal choices and professional demands. Or, as I kind of think of it, the constant push and pull between trust and survival. I remember reading the early chapters and just constantly thinking, why on earth does Bo help Morgan? What's in it for her? I mean, she definitely wasn't thrilled about harboring this mysterious, severely wounded stranger with absolutely zero explanation. It was a massive, unwelcome disruption to her very calm, predictable, low-stress life as a small-town police chief. Most people would just say no, right? Or call for backup immediately. But her motivations for taking him in were so fascinating, so layered, and frankly, incredibly relatable to me. She lives this quiet, seemingly idyllic life, but underneath he's dealing with financial strain. So she agrees mainly out of a very real, very pressing need for money to get out of debt. Who hasn't been there, right? Making a decision based on money, even if it feels uncomfortable. But then, intriguingly, there's this underlying current of just pure, unadulterated curiosity. She's a police chief, after all. She's naturally observant, smart, inherently inquisitive. She couldn't just turn her back on this huge mystery that literally landed on her doorstep, even if it was dangerous. That practical need for money, combined with her inherent professional curiosity, made her feel incredibly human, approachable, authentic to me. I found myself thinking, yeah, I could totally see myself making that exact choice, weighing the risks, even if it's absolutely terrifying. Made her brave, but also incredibly vulnerable. And the dynamic between them right from the start was just so incredibly enjoyable to watch. Beau is this cool, collected, utterly no-nonsense police chief, totally in command of her small-town world. A woman of rules and quiet routine. And then you have Morgan, used to absolute control and complete secrecy in his elite operative life, suddenly finding himself totally reliant, profoundly vulnerable, needing help for basic things. It was this wonderful, fascinating push and pull, a constant negotiation of boundaries, expectations, personal space. The sparks, both of irritation and attraction, were immediate, undeniable. There's a theme I felt resonated so strongly through the whole book, something that perfectly captured their unique relationship. Sometimes love walks in wearing body armor. It's not a soft, gentle beginning, right? No meet cute over coffee here. It's tough, it's cautious, it's about survival, built on a foundation of intense circumstances. But within that harsh reality, something truly beautiful, unexpectedly tender, and undeniably powerful starts to emerge. And my absolute favorite part of their developing relationship, the part that truly made me fall in love with this book. It was how, as Morgan slowly starts to heal, regain his strength, he and Beau just organically start to melt together. They fall into these shared household habits, cooking meals together, quietly doing chores, sharing the responsibilities of a home. And this growing, almost tangible sense of privacy and shared intimacy starts to envelop them. It felt so organic and real, watching them move from reluctant allies forced together to a couple sharing quiet, mundane moments, just existing together in the same space, creating a haven. It showed me that even in the middle of incredible life-threatening danger, the everyday intimacy of domesticity can be incredibly powerful at forging a bond. Maybe even more so than grand gestures. It wasn't about dramatic declarations, it was about the small shared moments, a knowing glance over breakfast, the quiet rhythm of their footsteps, the shared care for tricks that made their connection feel so incredibly deep and true. It was just a beautiful, subtle depiction of love blooming in the most unlikely of gardens.
It's truly remarkable how domesticity and shared routine can become such a profoundly powerful force, breaking down those formidable barriers that exist even between two very different people like Beau and Morgan.
And of course, you simply cannot have a small-town setting without a few unexpected curveballs thrown in. Even with Morgan trying his absolute best to lie low, to become practically invisible, Beau is constantly juggling quirky townsfolk who have, like, zero concept of personal boundaries. She's dealing with surprisingly complicated local crimes, navigating incredibly nosy neighbors who seem to know everyone's business before they do. It definitely added some much-needed lightness, some humor, and a good dose of complication to their already tense and unusual living arrangement. I loved how these everyday, relatable small-town issues kept the plot moving in unexpected ways and made their unique situation even more challenging. And often, yeah, quite funny. Then, as if they didn't have enough going on, tensions start to really escalate with the local town bully, this guy named Kyle, and his equally unpleasant father. And this, for me, was a really big aha moment for Beau, and for me as a reader, too. It's during these confrontations with common local thugs that she truly realizes Morgan is no ordinary convalescent. He's not just some wounded guy recovering. He's highly trained, incredibly dangerous, capable of handling situations with a chilling precision and efficiency that goes way beyond anything she's ever seen as a small-town chief. I distinctly remember a scene where Morgan disarms Kyle with such effortless, almost terrifying speed, and Beau's reaction, that stunned realization, perfectly mirrored my own. It solidified for her, and for me, just who she was truly dealing with and the immense power he held. And throughout all this, the lurking danger, the small-town antics, the growing revelations, the attraction between them is just building and building. It was so palpable. The simmering tension under the surface, a silent language of glances, unspoken desires, and I was just so excited, so impatient for them to finally give in to that undeniable pull. Every stolen glance, every shared moment of understanding, even their heated arguments, just cranked up the romantic tension to almost unbearable levels. I was absolutely rooting for them to make that leap, to acknowledge what was so clearly blossoming between them, despite everything. The author made me a complete cheerleader for their romance, just eagerly waiting for their first true acknowledgement of their feelings. As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to bring it back to that core question we started with, and maybe make it a little more personal for you, the listener. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you risked something truly significant? Maybe not dodging bullets, okay, but maybe risking your career, your reputation, your hard-won peace of mind, maybe even your core beliefs, all for someone you loved or were starting to love. I think stories like Troublemaker make us pause and really reflect on our own limits, what we're genuinely willing to sacrifice, and what love truly looks like when the stakes are incredibly impossibly high. It's a powerful reflection, isn't it? To consider where your own boundaries lie when faced with an emotional imperative like that.
Absolutely.
And that leads us right to our final would you scenario question for you to mull over long after this deep dive ends. Thinking specifically about Beau's quiet, relatively low-stress life as a small-town police chief before Morgan literally crashed into it. Knowing the immense life-threatening danger he brought with him, a danger that wasn't immediately obvious, but soon became chillingly clear, would you have taken Morgan in for money? Despite the zero explanation for his wounds and the clear, immediate risk to your tranquil existence, what do you honestly think you would have done in her shoes? Balancing practicality with that escalating sense of peril.
Stories like Troublemaker, they're so compelling, so enduring, precisely because they offer such a vivid, emotionally resonant lens through which to explore these complex human emotions and profound decisions. They don't just entertain, they prompt us to consider our own responses to similar, maybe less dramatic challenges in our own lives. They make us truly ask, what are our deepest priorities? What are we fundamentally willing to risk for genuine connection and a chance at profound love?
Exactly. And on that thought-provoking note, we have reached the end of this deep dive. Thank you so much for joining us on this exploration of Troublemaker. If you haven't read it, I highly, highly recommend you explore it for yourselves. You might just find yourself as surprised, delighted, and utterly captivated by its unique blend of danger and domesticity as I was. Until next time, keep digging deeper.